All right. Welcome everyone to NuView's Wednesday at 1 workshop. So there is no guest speaker today. It will be myself. I'm going to give you a little overview of self-directed IRAs, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this multifamily series that you've been hearing about. So we're going to go ahead and kick that off. So first thing before we get started, who is NuView? We are a self-directed IRA custodian. We do not give any tax, legal, or investment advice. So we always suggest you speak with your CPA, financial advisor, or whoever suggests that you might want to do some due diligence on an investment, or maybe they might do the due diligence for you. So it's really up to you to identify the investments that you want to make, but we are a resource for you to educate you on the different assets that you can hold in an IRA, specifically a self-directed IRA. So what is a self-directed IRA? So it gives you the ability to choose your investments, and many times it's something that's in the alternative asset space. What are alternative assets? Things like real estate, tax liens, mortgage notes, cryptocurrency, that all falls under the alternative asset space. And you get the ability to diversify your retirement portfolio. So what I tell my clients is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. The chances of succeeding is by diversification. So you can do that with a self-directed IRA. Not only that, you're investing in what you know best. You might already be a real estate investor. You might already be investing in private equities. But if you do it in a self-directed IRA, you get this tax savings that comes along with it. So if you're using something like a traditional IRA, it's going to grow tax deferred for you. What that means is you don't pay taxes until you take distributions after the age of 59 and a half years old, and you reach the retirement age. Is based on whatever your tax bracket is at that time, and that is how it's taxed. Or it might even grow tax-free for you. If you're using a Roth IRA, the Roth IRA grows tax exempt. And when you're ready to take those distributions from the Roth IRA, you do not pay taxes on it, but you do pay taxes on the contributions you make to the IRA or the Roth conversions that you do to the Roth IRA. That's when you're converting your pre-tax dollars to post-tax dollars. That's a taxable event. But it can invest and grow tax-free. So it's up to you to figure out what strategy works best for your retirement portfolio. Would you rather pay the taxes on the seed or the crop? So I'm going to go through some of the personal plans, the differences, and then your employer plans, and then some specialty plans. So the personal plans, you have your traditional IRA and your Roth IRA. The contributions are the same, up to $6,000 a year you can contribute. And if you're over the age of 50, there's an additional $1,000 catch-up contribution. If you haven't started an IRA, well, what most people will do is if they have a previous employer like 401k, 403b, TSP, any type of retirement plan from a previous employer, typically clients will do what's called a direct rollover to a traditional IRA, because usually it's pre-tax dollars. That's how majority of our clients get their jump start going, because they've had that retirement money already accumulated from that previous employer. And then they're also making contributions on top of that to keep that account growing for them. Now, the traditional IRA contributions are typically tax deductible. If you don't exceed a certain income bracket, then you can write that off. So that is helpful if you're trying to lower your tax bracket. You might be, within $6,000 or $7,000 of doing that. Well, you can take advantage by making that contribution. The Roth IRA is a little bit different. So the way the Roth IRA works is you make that contribution of $6,000 and you're going to pay the taxes on that now. It is not tax deductible though. It's actually added to your taxable income bracket. And then it's going to grow for the rest of your life. It's going to grow tax exempt and you can take it out tax free. So that's the difference between the traditional and the Roth IRA. A few other things is Roth IRAs do not have what's called an RMD, required minimum distribution. So say you have a traditional IRA, once you reach the age of 72 years old, you're required to start taking that money out, a certain amount each year until you've completely taken it all out. And the reason why is because the IRS wants you to start paying taxes on those distributions. And the only way to do that is for you to take the distributions. But the Roth IRA does not have that, because you've already paid your taxes on your contributions. So you can take those out whenever you want to, or you can even leave it for your beneficiaries and they can take it out tax-free. So I like Roths. I have a Roth. I make pre and post-tax contributions. There's power in both of them, but it's really up to you to create, figure out what your strategy is. Some people like the traditional IRA because their strategy might be a little bit different, and they know once they reach retirement, they're not working anymore. They're going to be at the lowest tax bracket potentially, and then they will pay less taxes. So it's really up to you. Then you have employer plans. If you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, then these plans are something you might want to consider. If you are self-employed with no common law employees, you can have business partners. The solo QRP, what we call NuView, or it's also known as a solo 401k, it's a pretty powerful plan because it has higher contribution limits. Each year, you can contribute up to $61,000. And the cool thing is next year, they actually increased it. So you'll be able to contribute even more money starting in 2023. That's a big chunk of change. If you have no retirement plan and no IRA and you're self-employed, this gives you the ability to put a lot of money away and really get that retirement savings jump started. And if you're over the age of 50, there's an additional $6,500 cap contribution on that plan. Cool thing with the 401k plan is you're making contributions two ways. You're the employee and the employer of the business. So the employee can contribute up to $20,500. Next year will be $22,500. The employer can do a match of up to 25% of what your earned income is at the end of the year. So that's how you can max out that contribution. So it really comes down to how much did you earn at the end of the year to be able to see how much you can contribute to that plan. Then you have a SEP IRA. With the SEP IRA, you can have employees, but if you have employees and they work, over 1,000 hours a year, then they're eligible for benefits. So they would also be eligible for that SEP IRA, and there's a mandatory employer contribution to that plan. So if you contributed 25% of your earned income and you maxed out your contribution to that $61,000 in the SEP IRA, then your employees' earned income, you have to match up to 25% of their earned income as well for their SEP IRA. If you have 1099 employees, well, then that's different. Or if your employee works less than 1,000 hours a year, then that's not required. But if they're over $1,000, they're full-time employees, they're eligible for benefits, you have to do that match. Okay, another plan is a simple IRA. This one is great for small businesses. There's a mandatory 3% match from the employer side. So you can contribute up to $14,000 a year to this plan for yourself and your employees. And there's a $3,000 catch-up contribution if you're over the age of 50. So your employees could also contribute from out of their payroll up to $14,000. And then you can also do that employer match on top of that, up to 3% of their earned income. And then you have your specialty plans. So you have your education savings account. If you're saving for college for your kids or grandkids, or you haven't started saving for college for your kids or grandkids, then you might want to consider this education savings account. Now, this is different from the 529 type of plan because that is a government plan. This is not. This one allows self-direction. You can partner this type of plan with your other investments that you're making. That way, it's also going to grow and accumulate for your kids' college expenses later on in life. So you can contribute up to $2,000 a year. There is no catch-up contributions. All contributions must be made before the age of 18. After they reach the age of 18, there's no more contributions you can make. And you can use it for any school expenses. That would include things like books, tuition, maybe even internet, uniforms, whatever expenses that would be fall under that education. This is a pretty cool plan for a few reasons that I like it. If your child does not take advantage of it and they reach the age of 25 years old, you can roll it over to the next child. So that's pretty awesome that you're able to do that to the next child if you didn't start an education savings account for them. All right, the next specialty plan, it's our health savings account. So if you have a high deductible healthcare plan, you probably would be eligible for a health savings account, but you want to double check with your plan provider. So you can contribute if your plan only covers you and your medical insurance, it's $3,650 that can be contributed. And if it is a family plan, then $7,300 can be contributed. It's only one HSA. And there's a $1,000 catch-up contribution if you're over the age of 55. This plan is pretty cool. It's almost like a hybrid of a traditional and a Roth IRA because when you make those contributions, it's tax deductible. When you take the money out for medical expenses, it's tax-free. So I like this plan. I've had a handful of clients that have really high health savings accounts, and it's because they maximize on their contributions each year, and they're also partnering it with their other investments that they're making. I've seen a handful of clients with over $200,000 health savings accounts. Now, if you reach the age of 65 years old and you have money left over in here, you can take it out, but there would be a little penalty involved if it's not used for medical expenses. Or you can keep it as long as you need to, as long as it's being used for medical expenses. And that would include things like prescriptions, over-the-counter medication, therapeutics, anything that falls under, medical expenses. All right. So these are the types of investments that most clients will make. I work in the syndication solutions department. I'm the syndication solutions manager. So I work specifically with sponsors and syndicators and people raising capital. That's where multifamily falls under because you are investing directly into an LLC. So that falls under private entities, but there's different types of private entities. You have your limited partnerships, joint ventures, LLCs, trusts. So funds, anything like that would fall under private entities. You can also invest in real estate. Real estate could be a single family home residence. It could be a short-term rental. It could be a piece of land. It could be offshore real estate. It'd be anything that you would own individually in the IRA. But if it falls under something that's like an entity, it goes under private entities. Of course, if you're putting equity in a company, if it's a startup company, a pre-IPO, things like that falls under private entities. So it depends on how your deal is structured, of course. Then you have cryptocurrency. I have clients and a lot of companies right now are trying to take on more cryptocurrency and accepting cryptocurrency as the vehicle for investing into that company. So crypto can be held in your IRA. Promissory notes is probably the next most common under real estate and private entities, where you're doing some private lending out of your IRA. So for example, I met somebody at a conference that's doing a fix and flip, and they needed to borrow $50,000 to finish this flip. Well, I can lend them that $50,000 out of my IRA, and then they can pay me back with interest. And as long as they make their payments on time, I don't have to foreclose on that property they're doing the flip on. If they don't pay me back, just like you don't pay a bank back that owns a mortgage or a lien on the property, I can foreclose on that property, and then my IRA would own that property instead. So that falls under more private lending. But this series is all about multifamily. So that's what we're going to focus on for the next few weeks. If you are listening and you're a multifamily investor, well, that is a hot topic in the market right now. Why is it such a hot topic? Well, the stock market has not been performing up to par. A lot of people are scared of what's going to happen. Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? Why are mortgage rates so high? Well, that's just part of where we are right now in the world, and this is the new normal. And if it isn't the new normal, well, what are other ways of investing? So a lot of clients are seeking new alternative assets, and multifamily seems to be something, and this is just a trend that we're seeing in the market. A lot of people are looking at it, and it's investing in apartments mostly, but there's a lot of things other than multifamily that still falls under the syndication elements. Like it could be student housing, it could be commercial property, mobile home parks, but multifamily apartments for some reason are still performing really well. Maybe it's because the mortgage rates are so high, and those people that were looking at maybe buying their first home are not doing that because the mortgage rates are so high. So what are they doing? They're extending their rental life. They're renting apartments longer than they probably planned, and they might have graduated from college recently and they thought they were going to be buying their first home, but they're trying to wait until those mortgage rates drop. So there are more renters right now in the market than there are buyers. It's a totally different market than it was last year. So what do they use what are you doing when you're investing in a multifamily syndication? Well, you're investing in an LLC. You're buying a share in that LLC. So you own a percentage depending on how much you're investing in that multifamily apartment complex. And typically there's a group of investors that are raising capital. They're called GPs. They're all general partners, and they individually go and raise their own pieces of that capital. And then everybody combines their money, and now they purchase that investment. And it's similar to a single family residence. Those apartments might need some upgrades or renovations, and that's all included in that capital raise. Then they go in, and it's almost like they're flipping the property a little bit, but they're adding things like maybe a new roof or new toilets or new carpets, or changing the parking lot or amenities that they're upgrading, things like that. And they're improving it, and then they might be able to increase rents. So all that combined, those increasing rents go back to the investor. So that's pretty much how a multifamily investment works. And not only that, there's appreciation involved. Well, that gets paid out to their investors as well. But the number one thing when you're making an investment is do your due diligence. Understand the market that you are investing in before you make any investments. So we've had previous presenters on multifamily go through things like showing you what the underwriting looks like, questions you should be asking the GPs or the person you're investing with, and ways you can do due diligence. We've even had somebody present a checklist on questions you should be asking before you make that investment. If you don't know where to find those, go ahead and scan that QR code, because that will take you to our YouTube page, and you will be able to find all of our videos that we've ever recorded in our workshops. And there's a ton of multifamily workshops in there that can help you learn how to do due diligence before you make an investment. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to me and I can help you find those videos. So why are you investing in multifamily? So if you are investing in multifamily, what is it? What is it you're looking for to know if it's a good deal or not? So this is stuff that I've learned by watching videos from our presenters that have been here for NuView, and educated our audience and viewers and prospects on multifamily itself. Well, it's a thriving and growing market right now. And if it is, what city is it you're investing in? Where is this apartment complex? Why is the economy thriving? Is there big companies moving there? So Orlando, Florida is a great example. We're adding new theme parks. We've got a ton of colleges here. Few other things like it's still growing. We just added, I think, a new Amazon, so that's going to bring more employees and big companies that are relocating. There's a lot of people that are coming from the tech world and opening businesses here. So I would say investing in a city like Orlando, but there's a lot of cities out there that are thriving and they're growing. But these are things you want to look for when you're investing. What brings people to the city? Are people relocating to the city? That's another thing. Or is it a tourist destination? Are there colleges why would people want to rent in that city? That is where you might do your own research first before you make that investment, because that's how you know if it's going to be a good or a bad investment. Also, like, have rents increased in the past, 3 to 5 years? If they have, well, you can probably count on them increasing even more. So how do you find these deals? If you are looking for multifamily investments, well, there's so many ways and resources out there, but just Googling things like multifamily, you will find a ton of companies out there that are doing it. The cool thing is you can use your IRA to invest in these deals. You can also use your cash to invest in these deals. So figure out what works best for you. Many times you do have to be an accredited investor. So figure out what is an accredited investor. So if you meet that criteria, of course, there are groups out there that you can attend. You can go to your local RIAs. You can go to mastermind groups that are all multifamily. You can go to conferences. I'm going to be at a conference this weekend on my own. Has nothing to do with NuView, but it's because I want to learn for myself on how to find more deals, how to structure deals. I want to learn the underwriting. So when my clients ask me these questions, I'm able to be a great resource for them. LinkedIn is where I find a lot of my network of multifamily syndicators, because there's a huge community on LinkedIn and there's a lot of great posts on a lot of good information. They're always educating. That's what I love about multifamily assets, is that the syndicators and sponsors are constantly educating. There are podcasts and webinars and workshops, and they invite you to conferences, and they want to really provide that information to their audience and their investors on the deals that they're putting together. I've seen people starting off with their first deal, a couple of years ago when COVID hit, to where now they've got a ton of doors under their belt and they're being, they're very successful. Those are the types of people you want to look for. Ask those questions. How many doors do you have? How many deals have you done? Figure out who they're partnering with. The cool thing is a lot of them partner with each other. So look for those LPs out there, get to know who the GP is, know who your point of contact is. And then Sharkpool, I had the pleasure of coming across Sharkpool, which is a really cool platform because they practice their deal pitches and then they critique each other. But as an investor, you can go there as well and you can observe and watch and see the different deals that are out there and listen to the feedback from other syndicators and their peers on why that deal was good or bad, or what they can do to improve their pitch, or other things they might have missed or weren't looking for when they were shopping around for their first deal, or might be someone that's vetted and been doing deals for a long time. But Sharkpool is a really cool place to learn how to do due diligence. So if you are interested in that, make sure you join us on December 7th. Cornelius Cannon, who runs Sharkpool, will be the guest speaker. He's a great guy, great energy, and he loves to collaborate and bring other presenters in. He's the one that created Sharkpool. So it's one of my favorite places to network with multifamily syndicators. And if you have questions, like I said, just reach out to myself or my team, and we're happy to help point you in the right direction. We're constantly at events and conferences across the country. So how does it work with a custodian, with NuView Trust, right? So this is how it works. You have to identify the investment that you want to make. So go out there, use those resources I just provided you, figure out where you want to put that money first. Once you've identified that deal, what you need to do is get your account opened. You can actually open your account first if you choose to do that and start that process and get the transfer going, but you need to fund the account somehow. It's either going to be a direct rollover if the money's coming from like a 401k or 403b or TSP or any employer sponsored plan. That's going to be a direct rollover. A direct rollover means that you have to initiate that as the client from that 401k provider to NuView by giving them a call, letting them know you want to do a direct rollover to an IRA. They're going to ask a simple question: where do you want the check mailed, and who do you want the check addressed to? And it's made out to NuView Trust Custodian FBO, and then your name, and that's how the check is issued. So once we get the check, we deposit it into your IRA, and now instead of your money sitting in a 401k, it's in an IRA, but it's still tax deferred like it was in the 401k plan. Unless it's post-tax money, then it would go into a Roth IRA. So funding the account, or if you're moving money from an existing IRA, then it would be a transfer, and then NuView would be the one to initiate that. You'd fill out a transfer request form. You don't have to move the entire account, just whatever you need if you want to, or you can move your entire account. It's completely your decision. But on that form, it's going to ask you want to do a complete or a partial transfer. Then we will make that request via ACAT to, say, Charles Schwab. Say, John Smith would like to move $100,000 to NuView. Here's the form. Here's the medallion stamp. It needs to be medallion stamped. And then we wait a few days, see if we get the funds. If we don't get the funds, we usually either get a rejection letter for some reason. Maybe the money was still invested in a stock, a bond, or a mutual fund, and it needs to be liquidated first. Or they might send the cash, or they might just need a few more days. But typically, it takes about 7 business days to move money over in a transfer fashion. And a direct rollover takes a little bit longer. It takes about 2 weeks because the check is being mailed, and it's usually a check, not a wire. So take that in consideration. If there's a deadline you're trying to meet to make an investment, get that process moving sooner than later, because you might not be able to make that deadline, or they might reach the cap of what they're trying to raise, and you'll have to wait for that next deal to open up, or the next time that person has a new deal for you to invest in. So yeah, time is of the essence because there's a lot of deadlines, especially in multifamily. Okay, so now that you have your money, it's funded, you found the deal, you know where you want to invest. Well, step 4 is to understand what UDFI tax is. So many times when you're investing in real estate, there's some borrowed money involved. So it's not completely money from investors, but there's some type of a lender or leverage that's involved as well. When there is the leverage involved in any real estate investment, you're going to be subject to a little bit of tax based on the borrowed money, because you're still making profit off borrowed money. So you have to pay what's called UDFI tax. Now, that does not mean that it's a bad investment or you're going to lose a ton of money, but you want to do your due diligence and understand this. You're paying taxes on the borrowed portion. That part is taxed. Sometimes it's in the 30%, but you're still making profit off of that borrowed money, which is the other 70% that you're still getting paid back. And that money goes back to your IRA. Your IRA portion is still going to grow for you, tax deferred or tax free, just depending what type of IRA that you're using. So you're going to get what's called a K1 typically by the end of the year. You're going to send that to NuView Trust, and our accounting department will pay that right out of your IRA, pay that tax for you. And that's it. It's a really simple process. There's still a ton of people that use their IRAs to invest in these multifamily deals, and they understand that there will be UDFI tax involved. So now that you understand that piece of it, you're prepared to make your investment. You're going to complete what's called your subscription documents. So you're going to fill out whatever the investment documents are provided to you by the sponsor or syndicator. The investor is going to be your IRA, not you, but the IRA. It's written as NuView Trust Custodian, FBO, and then your name or your account number, or both, however you want to write it. But most important, it has the custodian's name, and it's for the benefit of you. And then we will sign those documents. You will sign those documents. We will send a copy to the sponsor. And then you fill out the next form, which is called a purchase authorization form. This is you giving us permission to send your IRA money to this deal, this investment. On that form, you're going to tell us, are we sending a wire? Are we sending a check? If we are, where are we mailing the check, and who is it going to be addressed to? If we're sending a wire, what is the routing number and the account number, and who is going to be receiving that check? So it's typically the name of the company. And usually those instructions are already included in the subscription documents. So you might have to just go through those or connect with the sponsor and find out their banking information. Wires are much quicker. There's a $30 fee for wires, but they're so much faster and they're trackable. So it's really important, if you do a wire, you double check and triple check that the account number and routing number are correct. And then we'll get those funds out to you. Our turnaround times are amazing. If we have all your documents in good order and your cash is available in your account, we can get that process within 48 hours, which is a great turnaround time. All right. So I want to play a quick video. One of our guest speakers, his name is Satch Bernhardt with Bernhardt Capital, provided us some background on multifamily and what happens behind the scenes. So I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to be right back.
Second day of looking at multifamily properties. We're here at a 350 unit apartment complex that we just closed last month. Man, look at this beautiful apartment complex. We purchased this property about a month ago. A lot of investors came in with us.
All right. So that was a great video of what really goes on behind the scenes. You know, there's apartment walkthroughs. That's how they figure out if it's a good or a bad deal. You know, they get their expenses of what that apartment's, expenses are, average like electric, average lawn maintenance. I mean, it's very detailed, and you can ask for that underwriting sheet to break all of that down for you. But I thought it was a pretty cool video he provided just to show us that, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a team of people typically involved, and they have a checklist on like, hey, does this measure up? Are investors going to make good money off this investment? And should we buy in? Should we put a letter? It's called an LOI, letter of intent to purchase. And if they do, then they'll move forward with the deal and start raising that capital. So I've learned a lot about what goes on behind the scenes, but it's really good you as an investor to also know what goes on behind the scenes. So that's why I wanted to play that video for you. If you have questions, go ahead and start typing those in the Q&A, and I'm just going to recap a few other things. So before I get into the Q&A, but start typing those now so that we're ready for them. Our upcoming workshop series. So we've got a few coming up. Next week is going to be Stephen Geisis with Smartland. And then week 3 is going to be Satch Bernhardt, who that video he just contributed for us. Week 4 is not, we're going to skip that week because it is the week of Thanksgiving. Week 5 is going to be Chris Salerno. He's with QC Capital. And these are all multifamily speakers, by the way. And then week 6 is Cornelius Canyon with Shark Pool Capital. And then week 7, we're going to actually have a panel with all of them together to be able to answer your questions. So that's going to be pretty awesome to be able to just network with, all the guest speakers at the same time and ask questions, because you might have questions you didn't get to ask the person on, week 3, but on week 5, you were able to ask that guest speaker, and you're like, let me ask, get that opportunity to go back and ask that person those questions that I didn't ask for. Or maybe you weren't able to make one of the videos and you're like, hey, you know what, I missed that one, let me rewatch it on YouTube, let me come back for the panel. Now I can ask live Q&A questions. So there's a lot of perks to having that panel. It's our first time doing anything like this, so you don't want to miss it. You can register by scanning that QR code. We'll have it on our website as well, and we look forward to having everyone there, of course. A few other things I want to mention. If you are a syndicator and you're watching and you want to be part of these types of series and workshops with you, scan that QR code, reach out to my team, and as soon as we're available and we're able to get you in, we can definitely book you. But the way that works is it's a relationship. So we work off referrals. So if you start sending us referrals and we onboard that new deal you're working on, that gives you an opportunity for us to collaborate and be able to, you can contribute to our newsletter. You can contribute to our workshops, our podcast, our blog, our live event, our investor retreat that we do every year. This really puts you in a network of like-minded investors, and it's going to help you grow your business while we grow our business as well. So scan that QR code, reach out to us. We look forward to working with you. The best email to reach me or my team is syndication@NuViewTrust.com. And this is our social media. That's the best place to also follow all of our content: Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. Scan that QR code. Our website's NuViewTrust.com. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up now for Q&A. So let's see what questions we have so far. All right. First question: if I'm self-employed and I want to open a solo QRP, can I contribute monthly, or does it have to be all at once? So that's a great question. The cool thing with the solo 401k is it works 2 ways. You could either designate NuView to be the record keeper for the account, or you can do what it comes with checkbook control and open a checking account at a bank that you choose. And at that bank, well, you can make contributions however you want to, as many times as you want to. You control that, but you are doing your own record keeping at that point. So every time you make a contribution, what I suggest is keep a spreadsheet and designate all money going in. And what is it? Is it a contribution? Is it a rollover? That's really important that you track that, because if you ever have an audit, you have that spreadsheet you can fall back on, and you know where that money came from. Is it a dividend from an investment that I made? That all needs to be trackable. And any money leaving, obviously, where is it going? What is it for? Is it an investment? Is it a distribution? Things like that are really important. Did you do a Roth conversion? Those are all important things if you're doing your own record keeping that you want to track. So it depends. If it's at NuView and we're the record keeper, then we're going to keep track of those contributions for you. You have to let us know it's a contribution, of course. We are not going to tell you where you reached your max contribution, because on that, it's really up to you to track that. But yeah, we can definitely, you can do as many contributions as you like. If you do wires, remember there's a $30 wire every time. If you send a check, that's going to be no fees for checks. We don't have fees for checks. So that's just something to take in consideration. If we're the record keeper, maybe it's easier to just do one lump sum at the end of the year. Most people I see with solo 401ks do lump sum contributions because at the end of the year how much you earned, and then how much you can contribute. And so there's two contributions. Remember, you have the employee side. The deadline for the employee contribution in the solo 401k is actually December 31st. And then you have your employer side. That employer match, you actually have up until the tax filing deadline, which is April 15th typically, to make that contribution. So it doesn't all have to be contributed at once, but you do have to make sure you get it in before the deadline. It's December 31st for the employee, tax filing deadline for the employer match. I hope that answers your question. If you want to talk one-on-one, feel free to reach out to me. All right, next question here. If I'm experienced with real estate, is multifamily a good option for me? That's a great question. I mean, it sounds like you already know real estate, how it works, and it's just on a larger scale multifamily, really. It's just more doors and more tenants, maybe more expenses, but because you have that experience, that's invaluable. You will know exactly what questions to ask. And I would ask for that underwriting spreadsheet and have them break it down for you if you still have questions. But it's going to make you a stronger real estate investor in general. Like I said, check out our YouTubes, look at the due diligence pages, and then it'll give you the ammo to ask the questions and figure out what is going to be the best investment for you. That's my best advice for you. But reach out to me. Like I said, if you can't find those videos, I can help you find them on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of great content on different asset classes on there. But this one, like I said, it's all about multifamily. I know Rob Beardsley did one on underwriting and how to understand the underwriting spreadsheets. That's a great one to watch. I know last year we had somebody with a checklist that you could follow. I have to look back and figure out who it was because we bring on so many guest speakers and experts in these asset classes, but I'm happy to do that research for you. All right, next question. What are the options aside from apartments? Great question. So yeah, there's so many different options out there. If you're already making investments, say in real estate, and you have a rental property, well, you kind of already know what those returns look like, and you know what the expenses are, and you're going to pay the taxes, of course. So yeah, you can own a single family residence. You could do a private note, which is typically secured by a piece of real estate. So it's almost like going to a bank and borrowing money, except you're the one lending the money. So you're the private lender. You could buy tax liens. You could buy foreclosures, cryptocurrency. You can invest in other types of entities. Like I was just at a conference this past week, and there were people with like medical devices. There was people with tech companies. They're all raising capital. And you can invest in things that might be pre-IPO. And if they go, IPO and they're on the market, that's a pretty good return typically when it goes public, but those are a little riskier as well because you don't know if it's ever going to go public. So those are tough. Yeah, I don't know how to do a lot of due diligence on tech companies. I don't have a whole lot of clients that invest in tech, but I know it's an investment that's out there. And if that's something that interests you and you understand it, then you might want to consider something like that. Same thing, contact myself. I can probably help point you in the right direction. But if you have an idea of what you want to invest in or how to understand it, just let me know and maybe we can talk about it one-on-one. All right. What other questions do we have? And keep those coming. Great questions, everyone. All right. Let's check online to our live viewers what questions we have there. Well, I don't see any more, but we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up soon. If you guys don't have any more questions, I really appreciate everyone that joined. Invite your friends, your family, Share these videos through YouTube. There's a lot of great resources there. I can't say that enough. You can find so many different presentations, so many different asset classes. Remember, you have to do the due diligence. We don't do that piece for you, but we will, help you understand the self-directed IRA element in making these investments, and we can help you with any documents and paperwork and make sure everything's in good order so that we can execute those investments for you. That's our main role as the custodian of your self-directed IRA. So we're going to wrap it up there. I appreciate you guys again. We'll see you next Wednesday. Real excited to kick off this series, and don't forget our investor retreats coming up. So we'll start making announcements pretty soon on that as well. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a wonderful rest